In this video, we're going to be continuing our series on using Luminar Neo to blend iPhone RAW images. This time, we're going to be applying the same workflow and applying it for night photography. While it is certainly true that the iPhone's default camera takes amazing night shots with state-of-the-art technology, there are some cases where RAW shooting can give an advantage over the default camera. One case is when unusual lights cause the iPhone to misjudge the white balance. For example, in this scene, the blue Christmas tree has led the iPhone to process in a way to turn much of the scene overly blue, far from what the scene actually looked like. And this is quite difficult to correct as the color is already baked in. Another case is when the color enhancement of the iPhone causes an image to look over-processed, as in this case where the foreground is too bright with the colors looking different from the actual scene. In those cases, blending raw images might produce more natural results while providing greater editing latitude to get the image to look the way you want it. Next, let's run through the blending process. Once again, I've already taken 3 bracketed exposures of the night scene. To capture the brackets, as always, I've used AuraHDR Camera, but for the night scene, I've set the mode to high quality to ensure the images were shot with as little noise as possible. Do note that while there are 3 brackets, I'm going to be choosing to blend only 2 out of the 3, and that is the properly exposed bracket and the underexposed bracket, as I deem those 2 images more than adequate to cover the entire dynamic range of the scene. With regards to the properly exposed bracket, you can see that thanks to high quality mode, it has been captured with the lowest ISO of 32 with a shutter speed of 0.5 seconds, which is good enough to properly expose for the temple. Do note that while iPhone has great image stabilization, as the shutter speed is a relatively slow 0.5 seconds, and since we are taking multiple images, I would still recommend to brace your iPhone to help reduce camera shake. As you can see, while the temple is nicely exposed, the lamps are unfortunately blown out. Lowering the exposure does an inadequate job of recovering the nice color in the bright lamps. On the other hand, the properly exposed bracket does a good job of retaining detail even in the darkest shadows with an acceptable amount of noise. With regards to the second dark bracket, this has also been captured at the lowest ISO and is underexposed by 2 stops to properly expose for the beautiful yellow lamps. Bringing up the exposure, you can see there's a ton of noise in the shadows, of which most of the fine detail has been lost. Once again, neither of the raw brackets, the properly exposed nor the underexposed, give perfect results, illustrating the need to blend the images to combine the best of both worlds. Next, let's move on to the blending process steps, which should be similar as that applied in the previous video. To begin the blending process, I'll edit the properly exposed bracket first. I'll add the underexposed bracket as a new layer. I'll double-click the underexposed bracket. There, the underexposed bracket has now been added as a new layer on top of the properly exposed bracket. As a reminder, Luminar will automatically try to blend both images by reducing the opacity of the top layer. And as discussed in the previous video, while this is extremely easy, I don't find this the best way to blend. Instead, I prefer to perform the blending more precisely via masking, which will give better results. As such, I'll return the opacity back to 100. There, the top layer is now fully visible. Next, I'll move the properly exposed bracket to the top. I'll use a brush to mask out the overblown highlights. To do that, I'll click on the Masking tab. I'll select Brush. With the mode set to Erase, I'll brush on the lamps. There, the beautiful yellow color is brought back onto the scene. Next, I'll reduce the exposure to make the lamps stand out even more and make the image look more like what I saw during that night. Next, I'll apply a structure adjustment to bring out even more detail. And I'll apply a details adjustment to enhance sharpness and define detail. And there you go, our final image. Here is the before and the after. As you can see, it's a pretty good result, which we were able to achieve by taking full control of the blending process and not utilizing any automated method. So that's yet another example of how to do raw exposure blending with Luminar Neo. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to check out AuraHDR Camera on the App Store, the best app for computational photography. And by each purchase, you help keep the videos coming. I'll see you in the next video.